Thank you for the introduction. I'm here today to talk about our floating wind power solutions from Odfjell Oceanwind. Our story goes back 50 years to the late 60s when the founder of Odfjell Drilling, Abraham Odfjell, at that time a ship owner in Bergen, realized that offshore drilling in the North Sea was going to become a very interesting market. He also looked at the drilling rigs that the American oil companies were towing over from the Gulf of Mexico and thought that this was not fit for purpose for the harsh environment we have offshore on the west coast of Norway. He therefore chose to design a new harsh environment drilling rig, which later became known as the Aker H3 design. Over the following decades, Odfjell Drilling has repeatedly brought new generations of harsh environment drilling rigs to the market and today holds an undisputed global #1 position as a harsh environment semi-submersible drilling specialist. When we now, 50 years later, have embarked on a new venture in floating offshore wind, we are building on all the experience from the past 5 decades in Odfjell Drilling. And I can tell you that in offshore drilling, there are both good and bad learnings, but they're all valuable and relevant in what some consider to be a new play in renewables. Again, we have chosen to develop our own fit-for-purpose solutions because we didn't see that what was out there was fit for our purpose. But for us, what we now do in floating offshore wind is very much a continuation of what we have been doing in the past. We're coming in with a lot of learnings from Odfjell Drilling, not only on how to design and operate advanced steel structures reliably and safely in offshore harsh environments, but also on how to reduce emissions from offshore operations. As part of our journey towards zero-emission drilling in Odfjell Drilling, we have learned how to reduce emissions on our own assets, but also how to integrate new green technologies into these assets. We have developed and evaluated solutions for power from shore, green fuels, carbon capture and storage, and renewable power generation in the field. This is a unique knowledge to have when we now are developing floating offshore wind projects together with our oil and gas clients, helping them to realize emission reductions from their assets. Today, Odfjell Oceanwind is an integrated provider of floating offshore wind power solutions. With this, I mean that we have our own proprietary technologies and designs, including our own hull designs. We develop projects in close collaboration with our clients. We will manage the floating wind units, operate and maintain them, just like Odfjell Drilling does with their rig fleet. And we will over time develop a fleet of rental units for those clients that do not wish to own their units themselves. As part of our business model, we also offer to buy back units after they have served their life on a specific project. This is part of our life cycle approach to floating wind, and is possible since our units are standardized, will be operated by us throughout the life cycle, and thus can be redeployed to new locations after they have served their duty on one project. This is in particularly important when addressing the oil and gas electrification market, since many of the assets that we will supply power to will have a limited or uncertain remaining economical life. This integrated approach is pretty unique in the floating offshore wind space, and it enables us to move fast and be very dynamic in how we respond to the market that we believe will grow fast and change a lot in the coming years. It also provides us with lots of optionality when it comes to how and in which direction we choose to develop the company further. Today, I'm pleased to announce that we, supported by Pareto, have recently raised 100 million NOK in new equity to fund our rapid growth. Odfjell Drilling and the Odfjell family participated with their pro rata share and still holds more than 50% of the shares. We are extremely proud and happy to get on board 2 new strategic owners, Trønder Energi and the Blystad Group. Trønder Energi is one of the largest operators of onshore wind turbines in Norway and brings a wealth of knowledge from development, operation and maintenance of these. In total, they operate 280 wind turbines with a total installed effect of more than 1 gigawatt. They also have some very interesting technologies related to digitalization and artificial intelligence, that complements well the digital toolbox that we bring with us from Odfjell Drilling. The Blystad Group is coming from the shipping and investment side, a well-recognized investor with a strong track record in creating shareholder values. Together with the founders and management, we believe that we have a strong and suitable shareholder base for the phase that we are now entering into. We have a strong team in place. My chairman is Simon Leung, who is also the CEO of Odfjell Drilling. We have handpicked people from the floating wind, offshore and shipping industry, including some of the most experienced people from Odfjell Drilling. We are a separate company, but still very integrated with Odfjell Drilling and can piggyback on all the competencies and support functions coming from 3,000 employees and presence in 20 countries. We get the best from two worlds, 50 years of industrial legacy, but also the entrepreneurial spirit of a startup. In total, Odfjell Oceanwind is now currently employing close to 40 people in our offices in Bergen, Stavanger, and Oslo. Floating offshore wind is complex and challenging, in particular in harsh environments, and require access to the best you can get in the industry when it comes to technology and competencies. I've already mentioned Odfjell Drilling and what they bring to the table. We're also very happy to have in place a close cooperation with Siemens Gamesa that gives us access to offshore wind turbines with a proven track record from floating wind applications in harsh environment. And through Odfjell Drilling, we have cooperated closely with Siemens Energy for a long time. They bring important technologies and competencies on the power side, which is very important for us. After all, these units are electrical power producers. As part of getting Trønder Energy on board as an owner, we have also signed a cooperation agreement that will facilitate synergies and further development of their technologies for use on floating wind turbines. One of the areas that are particularly important to us is the ability to predict winds and power production from the wind turbines, as well as predicting mechanical failures before they develop into something that is not possible to easily repair offshore. With this partnership model, we also use everything we have learned in Odfjell Drilling from working closely in alliances over many years with companies like Aker BP and Equinor. Our game plan is simple. First, we will capture the near-term market in electrifying oil and gas installations. This market is open now in the North Sea, with a great push from both the industry and regulators to use our kind of solution for reducing emissions from the oil and gas sector. We will then leverage this position to become the perfect partner for permanent wind farms, because everything we learn from designing, constructing, owning, and operating mobile offshore wind units can be directly transferred to the permanent wind farms. In fact, our mobile offshore wind units are already designed and qualified to be used on permanent wind farms like ScotWind and Utsira Nord. But due to the time-consuming licensing and consenting process, that will not happen in a few years yet. This is why we short-term focus on exploring the market that is open, electrification of oil and gas installations in the North Sea. The basic concept is the same. Our deep-sea semi-moored, semi-submersible floating wind foundation that can take up to 15 megawatt wind turbine generator. A turbine from Siemens Gamesa connected to the oil and gas installation via a subsea cable. But in our solution for electrifying oil and gas installations, we have also taken everything we have learned from reducing emissions from Odfjell Drilling's mobile offshore drilling units and plugged it into our mobile offshore wind units. The hybrid technologies that has been running for a while on the Deep Sea Atlantic drilling rig has been packaged in a new way, which we have called the wind grid. The wind grid allows our client to stop their gas turbine generators in periods with good wind power production. This is a very important feature that enables and increases an increase in emission reductions from 30 to 35% if you connect the wind turbine directly to the oil and gas installation, to up to 60 to 70% when you add the wind grid hybrid power module. And the wind grid is not only an enabler for increased emission reductions, but equally important, an enabler for the business case. It therefore represents a great competitive advantage for us in this niche market. Our business model is scalable. We call it the Modu way. Our movers are standardized. We design one and build many. They are simple to acquire. We manage the supply chain and production line, and you can even rent one. They are simple to own since we manage the operation and maintenance. And the model is circular. At the end of each project, we handle the reuse and redeployment to a new location. We offer two main commercial models. You can either rent it or you can buy it. And we offer to buy it back when you don't need it anymore. This standardized approach minimizes our effort to develop projects. Basically, it's limited to the integration of power systems and site-specific mooring and cable design. Our standardized approach also enables us to utilize the full potential of the movers in terms of lifetime. Last year, we signed an MOU with OKEA and TrønderEnergi to evaluate using the Draugen platform in Norway as a hub for future flexible wind park, where we can redeploy our movers as and when they come off contracts from other fields in the North Sea. This enables us to secure us and our clients a residual value of the units and to avoid having idle periods for rental units. Again, we're taking all the learnings, good and bad, from our years in offshore drilling. We are lucky to be located here in Norway with access to a number of projects right at our doorstep with our existing client base. Due to high national CO2 taxes, ETS prices and gas prices, our clients have already a cost of energy that floating offshore wind can effectively compete with. Currently, an installation connected to the gas export pipeline infrastructure on the Norwegian continental shelf, which is the case for most installations, have a typical cost of energy of 180 euro per megawatt hour. In Norway, we also have political leaders that has given us a very predictable framework for emission pricing that makes it possible to develop good business cases for many of the installations on the North Sea. Our client knows that what is today costing 180 euro per megawatt hour will in 2030 cost almost 250 euro per megawatt hour. The temporary petroleum tax deal provides further incentives to sanction investments before end of 2022, and we therefore believe that we will be able to initiate the first building program this year. We are also lucky in Norway to have an existing supply chain with capacity and capabilities to support projects like ours. With the anticipation that we will initiate the building program later this year, we have lined up a supply chain for fast realization of our mover building program. Siemens Gamesa and Siemens Energy are already in place, and we have also secured first right of refusal for an assembly site to construct our first series of movers. We are in negotiations with cable suppliers, steel prefabricators, assembly cranes, and suppliers for all the other stuff we need to be ready for assembling our first units for a float out in 2024. The first units will be constructed in Europe and Norway, but we have designed our unit and modeled the supply chain to be scalable to other relevant regions of the world, to incorporate local content requirements that we expect will be put in place for most large-scale floating offshore wind farm developments globally. When it comes to the market for permanent floating wind farms, most people believe it will be huge, and most people think it will take some time. The scale of the recent award on Scotland is mind-blowing. If all 15 gigawatt of floating wind licenses will be built, it will require 1,015 megawatt units, and this is in one single award. Our take on this market is that it can potentially happen earlier than most people believe. The technology and solutions for floating wind are in place. The cost of floating offshore wind is coming down, scale in terms of project size, but more importantly, learnings from the number of projects executed will be important to support this. The energy prices are going and have gone up, and we believe it will remain high. There are not many other places to go if you want to secure enough renewable power. This combination will pave the way for floating wind power as long as the ongoing energy transition is not reversed. The consenting will be critical bottleneck in terms of how fast the project will be realized, and we already see that there is a lot of strain on the regulator's capacity. But if even a small portion of what is in planning now is being realized, we for sure see a strain coming on the supply chain in all parts of it. This will be interesting and a potential conflict to the need for costs coming down. We are going to take our part of this market, but while we are waiting for these projects to come our way, we intend to take a very active role in developing projects in our home market for electrification of oil and gas installations in the North Sea. Thank you.